Hello guys, Oscar here, and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Now in this one, we're doing things a little bit differently, and I will get right into that in just a second. Now if you look around, you'll probably notice that this is not our normal world, and yeah, it's a completely different world, never before seen on my channel. So what's all this about? This video is the pilot episode of a new sort of mini-series, or a series within a series, of things that I'm going to call like Scarman's projects, or something like that. I'm not really totally sure yet. But the basic idea is that I'm not going to, these aren't redstone tutorials, and they're not Let's Play videos, they're just me sort of rambling on about things that I'm working on, usually redstone related, and in this case it's like a super duper fuelinator, or whatever, I'm not really sure what to call it yet. But the basic idea is that these projects are not going to be finished, they're just going to be sort of in progress, and there'll probably be like at least 1 or 2 videos on each project as I work on it. And they're not tutorials, like I said, it's going to be just sort of me talking about things that I'm thinking about, maybe asking for suggestions, stuff like that. And I'm not sure if this is really a good idea for a video, I'm not sure if you guys would like it, so if you do like it, please let me know, that would be really appreciated. But in the meantime, let's get on with this one. So this project, as I'm calling it right now, I'm calling it the Super Fuelinator, sort of like a Dr. Doofenshmirtz like contraption. I'm not really sure what to call it yet, but basically the idea is that a smoker, if you feed it kelp and you feed it bamboo, it will make dried kelp, and if you have enough supply of both of them, it'll make infinite amounts of it. Now this one here, it has been going without a hitch for quite a while. There's still more. Yeah, it's been going for a long time. And that's with a little bit of backlog. It's not, I measure these perfectly, and so you can see right here, this is all the backlog we have for bamboo. So I did a little bit of research on how quickly smokers will smelt or smoke, and then how many bamboo they'll go through for every thing, and it's 5 seconds per item, so 4 bamboo per 5 seconds, which ends up being, according to my math, 2,880 bamboo per hour for a single smoker. And then it's 720 kelp per hour. So then I moved on to the farming, now that I knew how much of each I had to get. So for the farming, I built this one little module here, and I measured it for with 3 trials, and I ended up coming up with about 99 bamboo per hour. And that ends up being, if I check my, my document here, I have a Google Doc, I need about 30 modules per system, or per smoker, which is right here. This right here, I think I did a 2x3x5 module system. You can see 2x3x5. And then that works really well for one smoker, I found out. And then I repeated the process for a kelp farm, and that's what I came up with, 8 kelp modules per smoker. So then I had to figure out how do I get that much, or how do I get enough of the ingredients into enough smelters to make this thing actually a decent design. And so I made this. This is a 15 module or 15 smoker array, and the first thing I had to do was figure out how to get the inputs in there. So I put up some hoppers and some water streams, and then I figured that would eventually cancel out and get an even distribution of items eventually. It would fill these up first, and then it would keep going on, and that would be an even distribution. Then to eliminate lag, I did this right here, and what this system does is it detects when this hopper here is completely full of items. And when that hopper is full of items, this comparator will give an output, which then pulls back this piston and then releases the items in here, which will let any extra burn off, which not only makes this super efficient, it also keeps us from generating a lot of lag. And I did this on both sides. So now I had an input for each of these, and if I put the farms on here, that would eventually supply it. So now I needed a way to get it out, and the way I did that was with these droppers, or these dispensers down here, and I went on this side and I hooked them all up to a whole bunch of repeaters, and then I put that on a clock here with a little bit of math. I think it was, yeah, 6 items. So every 12 items of movement, it'll send a thing through. And because of how quickly items can go, I couldn't get exactly the right timing, so it's a little bit faster than the amount of items melted. Which means that when, every now and then, I think it's every 6th fire or something like that, it's a dry fire. It'll do ones that are really close to this, and then it'll go after, and then it'll dry fire, if that makes sense. And so that just keeps it balanced, and then now we have an output. So, after doing all of that, the last thing I needed to do was add a control system. And I have it on right now, but if we turn it off, you can see how it works better. And what this does is it locks both the hoppers, so it doesn't let any kelp in, which I now think, now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't know if we even really need this. And then it also doesn't let any bamboo in, so the smoker doesn't smoke anything. And then the next thing that I did is not only hook that up, but I also hooked it to our redstone clock. So as soon as we turn this on, it unlocks everything here, and then the redstone clock starts to work. And there we go, the system's on. So in theory, everything should have been working, but I had to test it. So this is sort of my testing setup at the moment, and it has a little bit more than other stuff, and I'll get into that. But right now I have a simulation of a kelp farm. I haven't actually built up the kelp farm yet, and I'm doing that with the /clone command. It's really helpful. And then this is my kelp farm. It's not really a kelp farm. And then my bamboo farm, which according to my math should have been exactly the right amount of kelp or a bamboo farm. But as you probably could infer by my tone of voice, this for some reason is not the right amount of bamboo farm. And I have a little bit of a suspicion as to why. So the way I had it designed is I had it so that if we backload all of this stuff, and then as soon as it's filled up, then we get an output here. There's a redstone lamp in there that'll tell us when to do it. But as you can see, probably guess, when it fills up this way, these get filled up first and these get filled up last. And that was a problem. So my issue was that the time it took for any items to fill up everything and then get to these last few hoppers, there wasn't really anything getting into these hoppers, and that wasn't good at all. And then that meant that any little bit was getting burned off, and I couldn't really do anything about it except maybe add more farms, which I haven't done yet, but that's sort of a theory that I might have. My way around this right now is that I have everything replaced with furnaces, which burn things at half the rate of a smoker, which really stinks. I'm hoping I can figure out another solution, but this works right now just because there's such a lower rate of consumption, so it works really well. But I want to see if I can add more farms and if that will help account for that loss, and then hopefully have smokers again, because smokers are twice as fast, and obviously speed is good in this thing. So right now that's my only real constraint, and so I'm really working on that. Let me know if you have any suggestions, but I'm pretty sure if I just add more farms that will help. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about some of these controls and stuff because it looks a lot more complicated than this stuff over there. So if we head on into this little building that I made, these are all of my controls. Here's the regular lever for activating stuff like we have over there, and then this here, it'll tell me when the last furnace is smoking, which usually means that the smoker is at max capacity. It doesn't always mean that, I found out, but I just did that with an observer and a sticky piston. So when it turns on, it'll turn this on with a T flip-flop, and then when it turns off, it'll turn it off. Very simple. Next, I have these two things here, the bamboo backloaded and then the kelp backloaded, and those are just the same outputs as over there. If I can zoom, that's just that output there running into a redstone lamp over here. So that was pretty simple as well. That's just a cool display thing that really I could probably go out and check, but it's kind of nice to have it all in one place. Now I have this thing here, which basically turns the clock on and off for our bamboo farm. And you can see right here, it goes into a NOT gate right there, and then that'll lock or unlock this hopper based on whether we have the farm on or off. And whenever this farm activates and it goes through here, it goes through a monostable circuit, which will send this bamboo up once and then back down, which sends a single pulse through all of this. So it'll go, that row will activate, and then a huge delay, then that row, then this row, then that row, so on and so forth, up until the 25 rows that I had to build out. And then this actually helps keep the flow really steady, a lot more steady than if it was all at once, and it also helps with lag a little bit, because the lag when it's all at once is a lot worse than if it's a little bit more gradual. So that was just sort of how that works. And then my detection system here was actually pretty complicated to figure out. It took like a whole afternoon. And this is just for the light telling me that the clock is running, and I'll show you how it works. If we go in here and turn this on, you'll see that if this goes on here, this will turn off and therefore start the clock, and then the clock's running. Now this signal strength for this thing here, if you look on the, the left side, you can see that there's a power level, and that power level keeps changing. And so every time the observer sees that power level change, it'll send a pulse through here, and then that goes into this, which changes it from a 1-tick pulse to about a 3-tick pulse, which then goes into this pulse extender, which allows it to create this pulse extender, which basically keeps it active all the time. And while it's active like this, an observer has the same idea as that one over there, where if this is on, it'll turn on the system, and when this turns off, it'll update again and turn it off, which is really, actually, now that I figured it out, pretty simple. And then finally, I have this little storage system here for all the kelp that we were making. So if we turn this on, Since the bamboo is backloaded, as you can see, we can see it get to work. Oh, and you can see right here that we are apparently smoking at maximum capacity. Let's see if that's accurate. If I could fly, that would be helpful. It's a real lag fest as soon as I turn this on, especially when I'm recording. But if I can get over here, we can see that yes, everything is smoking, which is really good. Now I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn this thing off camera because it is really, really laggy, and yeah, it should be pretty good. So that's my fuel maker so far, and my next thing that I'm going to do is probably build out more of this farm. Maybe 2 or 3 more rows, and hopefully that's enough. I'm going to do it one at a time and start testing to see if we can actually get this to where all 15 furnaces will be going at the same time. And then once we do that, then I think it'll be good to move on to the kelp farm, which should be a heck of a lot easier because kelp burns so much more slowly than the bamboo. But for now, that's all I've got on this project. Leave any suggestions or comments you have down in the comments section below. That'd mean a lot. But in the meantime, I want to thank you guys for watching. That really does mean a lot to me. And if you haven't already, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing. That would mean a lot too. But in the meantime, that's all I've got time for today. And I will see you guys in the next one. See you later.